I'm Michael Connor, and I'm here to admit to you tonight that yes, I did have a lot of FOMO this past weekend, watching the team play in the snow against another team that, well, the Texans probably could have beaten.
The easiest path in Houston's history to squander it away. They would have been able to whoop up on Jared Stidham, but yet and still, we're talking about what if. I'm John Hickman. Let's talk football.
Stan Norfleet, appreciate you staying with us for the Locked On Texans Squad show. Let's start turning the page and looking at 2026 at the same time. Not only how do these Texans stack up versus the field right now, but let's take a look at these opponents for 2026. I think the Texans could find themselves in a favorable position yet again.
Yeehaw! It's time for the Texans Squad. Everything Houston Texans, every week. Bringing you the big hits, game-changing plays, and all the action straight from the Lone Star State. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Saddle up and squad up. It's the Texans Squad show starting now.
And we're officially into week 2 of the offseason, and our sad faces are still here. As football season is winding down, the Houston Texans are watching like you and I are. And welcome to the Locked On Texans Squad show tonight, where we still have a lot to digest from what's going on the football field still in the NFL. Of course, like Stan mentioned a moment ago, what is going to happen in 2026? What do you know? Some CJ Stroud discussion tonight when it comes to some maybe lessons learned from one of the guys that played this past weekend. We'll talk all about it here tonight. That's Stan Norfleet and John Hickman as well. I'm Michael Connor. Thank you for joining us here on the Locked On Texans Squad show. All right, fellas, like I said, a lot to get into tonight. We'll start things off, though, with the AFC Championship game happening this past weekend in Denver. Started out, Jared Stidham got the Broncos down the field. They went ahead and scored. You know, they looked pretty good. Then the weather came in, and that was – and maybe I'm getting old. Maybe I'm just a creature of indoor football here in Houston. I got to say – or maybe even Super Bowls as well. First thing for me is I am done with football. I know that, you know, this is the tradition and all these things. I just want the best games possible. I had a hard time watching that game. That game was absolutely brutal to watch. And then you add on top of it, the Texans probably could have handled Jared Stidham pretty well in that football game. Did you guys have the FOMO watching it, Stan, like everybody else?
I mean, it was impossible not to, given how the Texans the exit from the postseason, you know, at the hands of the New England Patriots, and then you turn around and see the first half was fine. You know, two good defenses going back and forth doing their thing. But that second half, I mean, it was a blizzard. I mean, you literally, I'm at home. Obviously, we're all at home. I'm looking at the TV. Like, I can barely see the yard markers. I don't know what's going on. I know the players didn't know what was going on. And the moment that happened, the Broncos are out there with a backup quarterback. Gonzalez gets the pick. I have no earthly idea why in the first half Sean Payton on fourth down wouldn't just take the points. He put his team at a disadvantage, and voila. But I had no choice but to think about the Houston Texans. And John, I'll come to you. This is how the Texans stacked up this year versus the final four teams of the NFL championship weekend. Week 1, lost at the Rams by 5. Week 7, Monday Night Football, the second game, lost at Seattle by 8 points. Week 9, CJ Stroud goes out early with the concussion. We get Davis Mills that tries to create some offense and can't, coming off the bench. And then we know that Bo Nix does the thing right there and gives the Texas defense problems. They kick a walk-off field goal for the win. Week 9 at NRG, Texans did not play Drake May and those guys in the regular season. We know what happened, obviously, in the postseason there. So essentially, the Final Four this year, the Texans didn't beat any of them. The Texans could have belonged in that group, but this year they did not belong in that group.
I didn't have FOMO, but if I were,
yeah, we know Patriots boy.
But listen, you know, the whole time I watched that game, man, I viewed it from this standpoint. Houston's walking into the Super Bowl. I mean, I think they beat the Patriots. If we keep living in what if, okay, what if they beat the Patriots? They are walking into the Super Bowl. Why do I say that? Snow plays a factor. Houston is not a team that is used to the snow, right? I understand that. that would have hurt Houston. But when you look off sheer defense alone, going up against Jarrett Stidham, right, that gives Houston the advantage to, at the very least, keep Kaimi Fairbairn in some type of good field position where all of you asking your offense to do is just give us 30 yards and we'll be able to get to the kicking, the sweet spot for Kaimi Fairbairn. And also, I think the offense would have done just enough, similar to the New England Patriots. Drake May had under 90 passing yards, right? The one offensive touchdown came from his legs. Now, the conversation may be, do you trust CJ to use his legs in that situation? If I remember correctly, that was a design run call for Drake May. But obviously, you look at Houston's offense as they've been all year, especially during the win streak, good enough to score at least one touchdown. That was a game where I say, yeah, Houston is celebrating right now. The city of Houston would be turned up, but the Texans would have been punching their first Super Bowl playoff appearance. And so it's tough, man, because you just know what this season was. You know what it meant to the guys in the locker room. Saying you bring up the Denver Bronco game. That was the game where the game changed for the defense. Talking to Aziz in the locker room after that game, they go into the following game against, I want to say,
Jacksonville.
Excuse me. And going into that game that week, Aziz said, man, our coach challenged us. Everybody's calling y'all this number one defense, but we've had two occasions where teams have been able to score in the last possession. And that game against Denver, what happened? They go down there, march it down, kick the three, they win by
Bo Nixon.
So I just trust the defense for Houston to make their play. The season for Houston was remarkable. It ended how it ended. But for many Texan fans, whether it be social media, text, phone calls, watching that game, two things came up. Drake May really sucks. Right, a lot of people said that. But we would have absolutely done enough to punch our ticket. And that's all I got. From a Texans reporter standpoint, I did have FOMO looking at that game and thinking to myself, what could have been.
And wouldn't it have been nice to do this show where we had a 2-week buildup of talking about a Super Bowl? God, I just want to be selfish, man. Yeah. One of these days, I am tired of living in that what-if world. It sucks. Like, I think that's the history of the Texans too, right? I mean, it's always the what-if with this franchise. And one of these days, you can't keep doing the what-if with it. Like, you have to get over the hump with it. But, man, I don't know about you. Like, I just walked away, and John, you mentioned it there, like, I know that he played in the elements throughout the postseason. There's nothing that Drake May has done in this playoffs. He made a few good throws against the Texans. I will not take away the throws that he made against the Texans. Those 3 throws for touchdowns were great throws. He wasn't unbelievable other than that. He wasn't very good against the Chargers. He wasn't very good in the weather. I get it, against the Broncos either. And I that's what I think chaps my backside more than anything else, is that I think you let a quarterback get off the hook of not playing all that great football, and you really missed that opportunity there because, like you said, you would have cakewalked at the Super Bowl at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating because essentially what Drake May did throughout the playoffs, I think that's what I think we would have been able to at least see CJ Stroud give just enough. The same way Drake May gave just enough against Denver. Situations are different. Play calling is different. I understand that. One team has Nick Kelly. The other has one of the greatest offensive coaches in NFL history in Josh McDaniels. So I understand that, but just enough is what the offense has done all year. I mean, even against the Steelers, it was just enough. Christian Kirk doing just enough. The touchdown early doing just enough. And so Texas fans, you got to kind of feel for the Texas fans right now, Stan.
Well, yeah, it's tough, right? Especially in this D'Amico CJ era. This is 3 consecutive years you're running up in the same situation. You're on the road in a cold environment and in a hostile environment, and you come up short. Now, I'm going to, if y'all are done and you'll give me just a little latitude here, we're going to do some Stanalytics. I think you'll like this. And Hickman, you and I have jousted back and forth about this point all year. I'm about to prove that it takes more than defense, and that's the difference. The 4 teams we watched on Sunday afternoon, that's the difference in where the Texans were in 2025 and where these 2 teams, or where those 4 teams are, in the 2 that make it to the Super Bowl. Let me just sum it up and say it this way. All 4 teams from championship weekend are top 4 in the NFL in both scoring offense and scoring defense. The Texans were number 2 in scoring defense. The Texans were number 13 in scoring offense. Let me pause there to give you this nugget. Do you know the Texans, since DeMeco has been here, has never had a top 10 offense, even in that prolific 2023? They were 14th in the league. It takes both in the modern NFL. The term complementary football, the sheer notion that they thought you were going to ride a defense, and I get it. The path was there because of the injuries. Mahomes and them, they got caught slipping. Wasn't a great year for them. And Lamar's dealing with stuff. And, even Josh Allen was, I think, one and done. This was the path if you were going to go with that philosophy. But overall, that's not a prudent philosophy. I'll continue. Okay, Stan, this was a one-year outlier, right? The Texans were 13th in scoring offense. They were 2nd in scoring defense. Okay, Stan, what about last year? Oh, you mean when the Philadelphia Eagles were number 7 in scoring offense and number 2 in scoring defense? Well, who did they beat? Kansas City. Anytime you got Andy Reid, one of the greatest play callers in the history of this league, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and Patrick Mahomes is on pace to be the GOAT, the best we've ever seen. So let's take them out of that process. So if you don't have Patrick Mahomes, you better be scoring the football. And by the way, Kansas City last year had the 4th best defense. Okay, what about the year before that? San Francisco and Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan's offense was number 3 in the league in scoring. San Francisco's scoring defense was number 3 in the league. Kansas City offense speaks for itself. 2023 CJ's rookie year, Kansas City's defense number 2 in the league. Stan, what the hell are you saying? Don't let the numbers fool you. Yes, the Texans were 6 in win percentage and 6 in point differential. All those other teams, the 4 that played this weekend, they were ahead of Houston in all of those categories. So I sum all of that up to say the way DeMeco and Caserio came into 2025 and at the trade deadline when they chose to sit on their hands, it was offense that cost them. The trend in the National Football League right now is you better go get you some offensive weapons, and that's the mistake that I want them to avoid heading into 2026. Thank you for your patience.
To that point, all of those teams can run the ball well, traditionally, at least throughout the year. I know Denver was top 10 until J.K. went down with that injury. He was running the ball nice. Kenneth Walker may be up for a big bag the way he's been carrying that offense. He's not been carrying the offense, but how he's been running the ball in the playoffs, the offensive line for the Rams. And so you're absolutely right. Houston has to assess playmakers a lot better. And I want Texan fans to get far away from the thought of Tank Dell will save us. Tank Dell ain't going to come through that door and save everybody, man.
No, Tank Dell is not pushing you because somebody's asking me in the comment section, what's the point? The point is Houston was out of their weight class versus these 4 other teams. And I heard the general manager, and I disagree with him. The general manager said that with this defense, we can, as long as we don't turn the ball over, we can go beat anybody in the league. Yes, you have an opportunity to. But the bottom line is you got smoked by Seattle on the road that Monday night. That game wasn't that close. We all did the postgame show. Week 1, Matthew Stafford literally didn't participate in training camp. He came literally onto the field and beat you in week 1 with that same defense. Granted, that was early in the year. The Denver Broncos, CJ Stroud didn't play on defense. And Bo Nix got the better of your defense for that final drive. They kicked the field goal to win the game. And then we know what happened when you saw Drake May up at his place in, again, cold, wintry mix. So the general manager can tell me that we can beat. I'm telling you what happened in 2025. The Texans lost to all 4 teams because the offense didn't come to play.
That's tough.
It's going to be an offseason, of course, filled with what can they do to fix the offense? Well, I think the number one thing that we all know is coming is the quarterback conversation. CJ Stroud there's a lot of jumping off the ledge with CJ. Are we doing it too early? And is there somebody that's playing in the Super Bowl that we should be taking our cues from when it comes to how we judge quarterbacks? We'll discuss it when we come back to the Locked On Texans Squad show.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
So the Super Bowl is coming up in a couple of weeks. It will not feature the Houston Texans, but this show rolls on the Locked On Texans Squad show. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, John Hickman with you. Appreciate those of you that watch live on a Tuesday. If you're new to the channel, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. I'm speaking, of course, to those of you in the YouTube channel. If you're listening to this podcast in its audio form, well, go find the YouTube page and hit subscribe. We got to keep this page rolling. Yeah. This page is over 10,000 subscribers. John laid down the real work of this page. We're just here to try and boost it up. John's got you for the daily podcast as well. Make sure you're checking that out. And, of course, get it anywhere that you get your podcast for free. All right, guys, there's a guy playing in that Super Bowl, a ginger fella, might I add. Shout out to my ginger brother, Sam Darnold. I don't know if you guys saw that this year. He had the video of a guy that looked just like him in the stands or whatever. They hooked it up. They, I guess, got in touch with each other and he got him a signed jersey and everything. That's pretty cool. But a redhead man will be playing in the Super Bowl. I don't know when the last time that happened was. But he's bounced around. He has seen his way from, of course, the disaster. I mean, God, what a disaster the New York Jets always are when I think back on it. I mean, they literally might be the worst franchise in the sport. I mean, they might be the
Browns can't find a head coach right now. I think they got it.
That's true. Yeah.
Cleveland Browns can't find a quarterback either.
That's true.
Pro Bowl. They got a Pro Bowler though. They got
Stop it.
The dumbest thing ever.
I hate it.
Bill, I was saying real quick too. The Bills picked up Joe Brady there, kept Joe Brady around to be the head coach. That was
Joe Brady got elevated to be the head coach, former OC. Yep.
But we've watched Sam Darnold bounce around. I think he ended up in Carolina for a minute, ended up in San Francisco.
I covered him in Carolina. Yep.
Out there in Minnesota as well, and then played really well in Minnesota. You know, the Vikings fans are still kicking themselves over the fact that they let this guy go and went with JJ McCarthy. But is this a cautionary tale for Texans fans that are out on CJ Stroud? We're 3 years in, and he's not been. We've talked about this. I will say this: my emotions have come down a little bit on the subject of CJ Stroud since the game has moved a little bit further past. He's not a bad quarterback. He had two of his worst games of his life in the playoffs, but he's been a good quarterback in the NFL. Has he been elite? Patrick Mahomes level elite? No, absolutely not. Very few guys ever get to that level.
Outside of that first year.
Yeah,
outside of that first year.
Yeah, he was great that year. But is Sam Darnold a great example of you can't overreact too soon, and some of these guys maybe develop into that elite kind of stuff later on in their career?
Sam Darnold is a great example of, what a quarterback can do in the Kubiak-Shanahan system.
So what you're saying is that the Texans should get the Kubiak-Shanahan system here, John.
Well, they have.
Didn't they have it?
They have it now. Back-to-back seasons.
I think there's a Kubiak that's available. You could get him from San Francisco.
Yeah, Clay, right? Clay's going to be hot. If he don't move around this offseason, I don't see him sticking around past next year. But
yeah.
They got in Nick Kelly too, right? Nick Kelly just came from LA with McVay.
Todd Bowles told us, the head coach of the Buccaneers, he said that his film review, this is exactly what Brady and them ran in New England in 03. I'm lying, 02.
So the start of the year, I mean, you can even tell by how they were approaching the run. Like towards the end of the year, Houston was phasing in more zone runs compared to their gap runs early in the year. And a lot of that change came when Jawar Jordan got on the field, much better zone runner with that smaller frame than gap running. But I think people, and MC, you and I both had the same reaction right after the game. Like, I think I saw your tweet. I tweeted the same. What if Houston goes and get Joe Burrow? We got to dial that back a little bit. That's too much money that Houston ain't ready to invest in. Plus, that'll handicap the Houston Texans. But overall, like when I look at Sam Darnold, this is what I see the last two seasons. I see a great offensive line. I see good running attack. But you know what I see? Justin Jefferson, JSN. That's what he's had to work with back-to-back years. On top of Kevin O'Connell. Where does Kevin O'Connell come from?
Shanahan.
the following
McVay.
year,
Shanahan McVay.
then he comes to Seattle with Clint Kubiak. So, like, that is what I see from Sam Darnold. And we try to equate that to how that can impact the Houston Texans. Well, a lot of us can say, well, give Caley that time. I agree. But before we even get to the play calling standpoint, are the Texans able to run the ball? Not effectively, not consistently. So is there a real threat at what they do best? What does CJ Stroud do best? Play action. Is that a real threat consistently? No, it's not. We love Nico Collins. Has Nick Caley utilized Nico Collins like the Seattle Seahawks have utilized JSN, or is Nico Collins Justin Jefferson's? No.
Well, all those guys get the ball more than Nico does. They get more targets than Nico does. All those dudes.
And I also add to that, just look at how they use JSN. Like the one play everybody is in love with.
He was in the backfield.
Yeah, with the scissors. Like, that's just amazing. We don't see that from Nico Collins. We also didn't see that from any of the smaller, twitchier guys this season. So that's what I see when I look at Sam Darnold's redemption. When he came into the league, he was with the Jets. Now he's with two great offensive-minded coaches in back-to-back years, and he's been productive. That's what it is. And it isn't about giving time. I think CJ Stroud is still a talented quarterback, but it's all about the foundation around him. And so, is Jaden Higgins good? Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Nico Collins is great. But the weapons up front in terms of being able to run the ball in enough and the backfield in enough, and that plays into how Houston is unable to consistently use what they're great at. That's the play action. Houston got to get better. That's getting another body in their running back room, and obviously upgrading the interior offensive line and have guys fit what they do well.
Yeah, I said this in real time. You know, coming off that when we did this show post game, I said, I'm not ready to move off CJ Stroud. Then we came on last Tuesday, and I said the same thing. No, I'm not moving off CJ Stroud. He's still a franchise quarterback. I fully accept that. What was it? Since Jonathan M. Alexander had this in the Houston Chronicle. Since 2011, there have been 13 quarterbacks taken first or second overall. 10 of the 13 got extensions. So I fully expect CJ Stroud to get an extension. You can't bail on a dude just because the two worst games of his career happen to come back to back in the postseason. He's 24 years old. This is not a guy that's 34. Yes, I am concerned about the 5 games missed via concussion. We'll talk about that in another show. But when you go back, and John, I don't know if you guys have done this, but have you done the homework? And I'm being rhetorical. Like CJ Stroud, his record that fantastic rookie season was 9-6 in the regular season.
Mm-hmm. Was it 24-5 TD to interception?
23-5, right? So, and I'm going to just spare you all the numbers. I'm just trying to get to the point. His record in 23 was 9-6 as a starter. His record this year was 9-5. Okay, Stan, what about his completion percentage? Better this year than it was his rookie year. Mm-hmm. Okay, Stan, what about his touchdown percentage? 0.1% worse this year than the rookie year. Okay, Stan, what about his interception percentage? Down from last year, a little bit up, almost double what it was the rookie year, so not quite that good. He only had 8 turnovers, which is 8 interceptions. That was a franchise low for turnovers in a season for the Houston Texans. Like, CJ is not a turnover-prone quarterback, but people remember those last 2 games where it was 7 turnovers in those 2 playoff games. I mean, I could keep going here. His QBR this year was better than it was the rookie year. His passer rating this year was better than it was last year and slightly worse than it was the previous year. The bottom line is, and I disagree, somebody over here in the comments tried to list all this stuff that Caserio has done. Where was this at? Stop lying. This is Danny Corleone. Stan, stop lying saying the Texas organization hasn't invested in the offense. Nico Collins was a 3rd-round pick that developed when CJ Stroud showed up. Before CJ showed up, Nico Collins was just a dude. Facts. Go look at the numbers and the tape. Who else? Ursery. We'll see where Ursery is. He had a good, solid first year. No, we haven't seen Jalen Noel. They didn't use him, so we don't know what he is. To me,
to the point where I think Houston still needs to invest into a wide receiver.
This point, that's my point. Higgins was okay, but Danny Corleone over here in the comments, if you're being honest with yourself, you don't believe when Nico misses games next year, and that has just been the trend of his career. Nico is going to miss games. You don't believe that Higgins is going to be the guy. I know you don't. Tank Dell is often hurt. Joe Mixon is often hurt. Tunzel doesn't play here anymore. Christian Kirk was a bad investment, and they let Stephon Diggs go play in the Super Bowl. So, no, they did not do the things in 2025.
On top of understanding that this new offensive coordinator who you hired before free agency wanted to have an emphasis on running the ball and opted to sink money into Cam Robinson, Ed Ingram, Laken Tomlinson. Only one of those players played. Trent Brown half of the season. Oh,
Jake Andrews. So there's one thing to say you don't spend money. There's another thing to say, like, what is the money that you spent being productive for you? And for the Texans 25 offense, the money they spent was not productive for them.
Look
other than Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz.
Look at the extensions Houston has shelled out. Nico Collins worked out. Dalton Schultz got his 3-year extension worked out. Now let's look at Joe Mixon. They traded for him and gave him an extension. 1 season, he's out this year with a freak accident that is taboo to talk about. The other extension.
They just got to tell us already. Just quit hiding it. Just tell us, by the way. Just tell us.
We're not going to get that information.
I
At
know.
least not outright.
So one day Mixon will mention it on Twitter or something.
Jalen Petrie, Daniil Hunter, Aziz. Those
the money's on defense.
So and this is why I think, for one, it's very unfair to just say we get Tank Dell back. There was only 2 receivers with over 500 receiving yards for the Houston Texans. Nico Higgins. Everybody else should be reevaluated. In my opinion, I still think Houston should invest early in the draft in a wide receiver.
I agree with that. I'm the one that when they was talking about getting Higgins, I'm like, no. Go up and get Emeka Ibuka. That's a dude. Now you got Nico and Ibuka out there. Now we got a different conversation.
Ibuka tailed off, and I don't think this is where I'm going to give the nod to Higgins.
What?
He's a much better red zone target.
Whoa. Just so I'm clear before you go.
Listen to what I'm saying. Ibuka tailed off. Quarterback injuries played a fault in that. But at the time Ibuka fell off, I'm not going to say fell off, tailed off, Higgins started to ascend a little bit. And what I like for Higgins over Emeka Ibuka is his red zone targetability.
So let me get this straight. So I just want to ask a general question. Hold on. I know you watch the NBA as well. So if Kevin Durant drives and kicks the ball to Jabari on the wing, and Jabari Smith Jr. knocks down,
which is rare these days.
If Jabari Smith Jr. knocks down 3 3-pointers in 3 consecutive games because Kevin Durant is driving addition, does that mean Jabari Smith made the threes, or does that make him a 3-point shooter?
He made the threes.
I believe Jaden Higgins caught some touchdown passes. I don't believe he's a guy that you can count on to go get those numbers. Yet he could develop, Nico developed. But with this offensive coordinator, I don't believe in him. With that offensive line, I don't believe in him. So CJ,
let's put an emphasis on with that offensive line, because the second half of the season, the tape tells us Higgins got open a lot. In the playoff game against the Patriots, I love Gunzo. He worked Gunzo a lot. The ball didn't go his way. Similar to the second year of Nico Collins in Houston with Davis Mills, where he was getting better and getting open a lot. The ball just wasn't coming his way. Higgins is a very good player. what needs to change
very good.
If you're a receiver,
I'm pushing you on purpose, John.
If you're a receiver and you do your job to get open on an all-pro cornerback in a playoff game and the ball isn't coming your way, what else can you do?
No, you can't do anything. What I'm saying is those are singular moments. What I'm saying is Nico Collins didn't play on Sunday. Nico Collins was not
led the team in receiving yards.
And I'm asking, how many offensive points did the team score? So what I'm trying,
quarterback turned the ball over way too much.
Yeah, go ahead. I know we're on the clock. Go ahead, MC. Which you did. Yes.
The quarterback turned it over way too much. He did.
And I understand your point, John. CJ has to be more accurate, whether it's Higgins, whether it's Noel, whether Tank comes back, whether it's Nico, Christian Kirk, Dalton Schultz, Kate Stove, it doesn't matter who's in there. CJ's got to be on his A game, and in the postseason, he was not. But to say that he's trash, we just went through comparing his numbers this year to his numbers that first year. And it's not that much difference when you go on certain percentage advanced metrics. Go ahead, MC. I'm sorry.
All right, we'll get to our quick timeout. We'll start laying out a little bit of a blueprint. We're not going to go like super in depth, but a blueprint of what we want for the path to going to 2026, and we still have to get to some way too early predictions before we get out of here on the Locked On Texans Squad show. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that's the tough part. It's always hasn't been so simple. That's why Gametime has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs with the fans. Look, you can get all the things that you want out of the Gametime app. You can absolutely see one of the best features is the all-in price up front. There's no surprise fees at checkout. Another great thing is the seat view. Why wouldn't you want to go and check your seat and see what it looks like before? You can view your seat right there in the app, making that decision to buy those tickets even easier. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not gametime.com. One more message before we get back to the discussion on the Texans here tonight. It's the last call for football season. Makes you a little bit sad. On FanDuel, it's still there, though. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This Super Bowl 60 and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing your favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this game is the one that everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into big plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, and John Hickman with you for the Locked On Texans Squad show. Thank you to all of you that listen and watch.
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where my man at over here? Reginald Reagan. I like Reginald too, but I don't know. I don't know what people expect from receivers, man. If the receiver can't get the ball when he's wide open, that's an indication on the quarterback, fellas. And whether y'all want to admit it or not, Higgins is not sexy. He's not flashy. He's not
there
like,
yet, John. It's not there.
He's not there yet. At least
let
he's
him
not
blossom.
He will blossom, but I think what we have to appreciate is he blossomed throughout the year. And coming into this thing, like you look at the motion rate for the Houston Texans, that took time for us to see the motion players more often. And when they did motion, it was a limitation on the players that they motion. Like Caley has to get better. He got better throughout the year, but the receivers wasn't fully utilized. This is why a lot of us feel like, this year they got to draft another receiver, because we didn't see a lot of Jalen Noel. When we did see Jaden Higgins, it was always in spurts and moments. Like those guys just need the ball more. And one thing about it is when you put him in that red zone, out of his 5 TDs, No, he was a 6 this year. 4 was in the red zone. Like, that's where you see his biggest value, in my opinion. I think that's something the Houston Texans will continue to build on. But he is a good player.
I'm not prepared to call him a good player, and I'm certainly not prepared to put him on the level with Emeka Egbuka. Now, Teteroa McMillan went crazy this year at Carolina.
I liked it.
Emeka Egbuka had a nice year, and he was banged up a little bit. And they got they got one of the best wide receiver rooms in the league in Chicago. Luther Burden III, who was taken after Jaden Higgins, was still on the board. He got busy in Chicago in spurts. So I'm just simply acknowledging this is a formula. Now, again,
who is in Chicago to call the plays?
Yeah. And
Ben Johnson.
And the quarterback was better this year than CJ Stroud wasn't he?
So you have a very fair point. You want to know
why? Guess what the Chicago Bears did last offseason?
Invested in their offensive line.
And that went from 68 sacks to 24. That went from 104 rushing yards to 145 in top 3 in the NFL. Be smart. Invest up front.
Which is where you want to go. MC, you want to set the stage for the segment?
Yeah, how about look, we got a lot of offseason to get through. We're going to get into specific stuff. We're going to get into draft stuff, of course, as it gets going. We don't want to blow all of our, shoot all of our bullets in the first couple of weeks of the offseason, of course. But as you guys sit here and start to get ready for what you'd like to see, if you had the keys to the car, you were Nick Caserio, what would be kind of the big picture blueprint for you, Stan, for the 2026 offseason?
Nick Caley, I appreciate your service.
God, dog.
Peace.
That's it.
Rough, man. It's rough in these streets.
That's it.
I don't believe
the door for him too. You hold the door while he walks out.
Listen, it's no animosity. You can maybe meet me at Mastro's for a cocktail once I'm done with my work for the day. But for right now, I need you to get out my building. I don't believe Nick Caley is good. And you know what's crazy? See, the people that are going to push back on this comment, they don't have any evidence that Nick Caley is actually good. They have hope. And Bill Parcells taught me long ago that hope is not a plan. See, I can go get some other guys. Cliff Kingsbury right now is on the street as a better play caller, and we've seen his work. He's a better play caller. Now, the only way to get experience is to get experience. So perhaps Nick Caley can grow into the position. I said it a gazillion times. Why would you hire someone that has to grow into the position when you have a number 2 overall pick, franchise quarterback, and that defense? You're in a Super Bowl window right now. You can't afford to have somebody learning on the job that isn't adequate at the job. I just don't understand that. But, John, you've already hinted at it, man. This offensive line, people are going to talk about the line, and yes, the sacks did come down. But I have some numbers here about the offensive line I wanted to add. I'm glad you said that. Bear with me here. Texans were middle of the pack in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, but they were one of the least efficient groups, posting a 34.1% rushing success rate and getting stuffed on 21% of their runs. Both ranked second worst according to Next Gen Stats. We don't need to discuss the red zone as well. The offensive line was better than it was in 2024, but it clearly was not good enough. It wasn't.
Let's discuss the red zone, Stan. Let's discuss the red zone, brother. 1.9 rushing yards in the red zone. You want to know what it was inside the 10?
Maybe less.
What was it inside
the 5? 0.9.
Yeah, the offensive line,
man.
What they would do is they would take that number and they would say, well, when we had Trent Brown at right tackle, if you were to take it from the point that Trent Brown was inserted in the lineup and extrapolate that out over the course of the season, again, no coincidence, Trent Brown didn't play on Sunday, and you kind of get what you get. So the bottom line is this offensive line is not good. Nick Caserio, I said this last episode for those that are new to the station or new to the show. Nick Caserio has drafted 7 offensive linemen since he's been here. One of them is giving them anything at the position that they were drafted to do so, Ariante Ursary. They don't trust Blake Fisher at right tackle or left tackle. They push him out there to jumbo tight end, and then he does spot duty at one of the tackle spots. He was penciled in to be the starter coming into the 2025 training camp. And then they got his butt out of there when they saw that it was ugly and he was getting destroyed in practice every day against Will Anderson Jr. and against the cyborg, Daniil Hunter. First order of business is offensive line. The second order of business, and I'll toss it to you guys. If Joe Mixon is on this team, they're in the Super Bowl. With this offensive line, even with the quarterback playing, and CJ wouldn't have had to play like that if they could hand the ball off to Joe Mixon. Some of those throws wouldn't have been there. They'd have handed the ball off to Joe Mixon. So they got to go get a runner of the football.
Yeah. And if they can release Joe Mixon
with no dead money and save $8 million in salary cap space.
My way. Right now, Houston has negative 6.6 effective salary cap. They're going to have to look at
save $8 million by releasing Joe.
I think 4.4 by moving on from Mario Edwards. We look at Houston being in a great position in this year's draft to draft a young D tackle to pair with Will Anderson moving forward. Also inserting that young D tackle with Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson in that already deep rotation room. But the first thing I would do, Stan, like you laid it out, you threw me the alley with the numbers, and I went and dunked it with the red zone numbers, which, in my opinion, just disgusting. Like, and they would try anything to make it work, but they could not run inside of the 20. They damn sure couldn't run inside of the 10. Why? They get knocked back 3 to 4 yards. When the field shrinks, that's when the running backs have the most issues. Andrews in the tight windows as a runner, he's not good.
I'm so over with Jake Andrews. Don't know what to do.
Ingram, I think, was one of the bright spots. Was it consistent?
I agree with that.
It was not consistent, but at the very least, you saw Coach Popovich progression as a coach with him as a player.
Shout out to Coach Popovich. I want to acknowledge your work. That was a drastic difference in what we got from Chris Strausser last year and what we're getting from Coach Popovich this year.
And by the way, what if he would have got his hands on Kenyon Green first? Like what if, right?
He always showed up fat and out of shape. It didn't feel like that one was happening.
Yeah, they said he was in shape that 24 season.
I went to training camp. I hadn't gone to training camp forever. I went to training camp. I think it was before the 20. Maybe it was. I think it was the 24 season. And I was talking to somebody that has very good Texan sources that was there, and they're pissed at him because he showed up 35 pounds over the weight that they set out for him. I'm like, what?
His last season in Houston, that's when his body really reformed. But by that point, I think confidence-wise, it was shot. Now, you talking about what the
battled through some injuries
need to do. Listen, Tyler Linderbaum, Cade Mays. Those are the two guys I think needs to be at the top of Houston's list, both at center. That is the major upgrade. You got two guys that can do duo gap runs, however you want to look at it, or zone blocking.
I'm a big Linderbaum fan.
For those of you who do not know, zone blocking is one of the hardest things a center could do because they got to get to a space that may or may not be occupied, but they got to get there, right? And so we look at Houston having issues with their money and having to take the limited amount of salary cap that they were projected to have once they make some decisions with restructuring contracts. Stingley, Nico, other players. Cade Mays may be the best option for Houston simply because Linderbaum going to command a lot of money.
No
Mays
question.
is going to be around 12 to 15 mil compared to 17.5 and more for Linderbaum. That allows for Houston to still have money to work with in free agency. But I like Cade Mays and some sources around the league, and I was doing some research. Everybody in Carolina says when he was under center, Bryce Young was a better player. And so I'm looking at the correlation.
They like Cade Mays, yeah.
You get Cade Mays in here, what he was able to do for Bryce Young, the thought is he'd be able to do the same for CJ Stroud. But they got to upgrade that.
I don't think they're gonna upgrade center. I'm sorry to cut you short. I got the clock, MC. I don't think they're going to make an upgrade at center.
That would not be smart.
Because they believe in Andrews. They said the communication was most important, which is why Andrews beat out Jared Patterson. Now, I have not seen Jake Andrews be better than Jared Patterson, but I have not watched every snap, the all 22, and graded it out for myself. So I'm just going off the limited, when I say limited, actual focusing on the offensive line and looking at the TV copy. So I think
ran to the right side, they averaged, I think, 5 point and some change on the ground. When they ran towards the center way, left or right, it was 3.4 and 3.5 or something like that. It's not a winning formula. And
what they would say is that Jake Andrews played half the season on a leg and a half. My conversation would be, then why didn't you put Jared Patterson in? You had enough confidence to start Jared Patterson at left guard in a playoff game for you, but you didn't have enough confidence for him to play the center position, which he was drafted to play. Now, they'll say he was drafted, Casario would tell us he was drafted to play interior offensive line. He's a better center. He's won a playoff game with CJ at center. He started CJ's first 2 years at center. Let him play center. But we got a whole bunch of time to talk about the offensive line. If there's one other thing for me, and I don't know what the hell is going on with Juice Scruggs. Like, to me, Juice Scruggs, and we got to start having the B word conversation. Not B as in bust. He's a backup. Juice Scruggs is just not a starter right now. Because if he was, he'd be out there, and he's not. So that tells me they don't believe he's a starter. They also don't believe that Blake Fisher is going to develop into a starter. Maybe he can. I didn't see that.
I think Blake Fisher in Buffalo, that was some of his best tape he put out. And he was playing tackle when somebody went down. That's some of Blake Fisher's best tape. And
I don't doubt that he had moments. You're in the NFL. You're in the NFL. You're supposed to have moments. But can you string those moments together?
I really like that they didn't throw him away. They found a role for him.
Get him some experience. Get him some confidence.
Coach Popovich got his hands on him. And whenever he did get out there at tackle, it wasn't bad. And I saw some
it was awful.
from Blake.
There were some times it was awful. There were some times it was awful.
It was not all bad. The
awful.
Tape was
no, not all bad. But there were some times it was awful. I want to hit this, MC, before you go. Big _DQ in the comments. Isaiah Likely, tight end from Baltimore. He's a free agent. If I'm Nick Casario and you're going to run this true New England offense, you already got Dalton Schultz under contract for next year. Man, go get your Kyle Pitts out of Atlanta. Go get Kyle Pitts Jr. and get you an alien. Can the Houston Texans offense put another alien on the field, please?
They got one. Man. They got
the problem will be, will they have the money for all of this?
Yeah, there's not a lot of cap space here. Of course, we're going to see how they make this thing work. They'll figure out a way to make it work. We'll give us some early, way too early predictions for what is ahead in 2026 when we return here to the Locked On Texans Squad show. Big game is almost here, and there's no better way to stay locked into every moment than with PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app, where it always feels good to be right. With football season coming down to its final stretch, now is the perfect time to close it out strong. PrizePicks makes watching the game even more exciting by letting you build simple lineups around player projections, no drafts, no waiting, just football action all the way through the playoffs. PrizePicks is incredibly easy to get started. Pick 2 or more players and choose more or less on their projections. It's a great way to keep up playing fantasy football even after the season-long leagues are finished. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Final few moments of the Texans Squad show on a Tuesday, the first of 2 here this week. We'll be back later on this week on Friday for our second. We'll, of course, get deeper into this. So we're going to keep getting deeper into the offseason every single week because that's all we got. Draft will be here at some point. After that, we will sit until training camp, basically. We got OTAs.
Don't just skip over free agency. We get free agency before the draft.
Right now, the Texans don't have money, but yeah, they do have free agency coming up. They'll finagle the best way they can. So speaking with that, all those things ahead, you can give as many as you want, but if there's like one bold prediction for what's ahead in 2026, whether it's free agency, trade, draft, or just something for next season, we do know who the Texans' opponents are now, by the way, of course. We know where they're picking in the draft. Yes. Their opponents, by the way, next season. Home opponents are the Colts, Jags, Titans, of course. Ravens, Bengals, Cowboys, Giants, Bills. They get to smash Josh Allen at home again. Away, they'll get the Browns, Colts, Jags, Eagles, Steelers, Titans, Commanders, Packers, and Chargers. So, way too early predictions for 2026, fellas. What is it?
Yeah, I think Houston's going to make an upgrade, a playmaker on the offensive side of the ball. Now, I don't know if there's going to be free agency or the draft, But I think Houston, you can't sit here and lie to me for 2 off seasons and say things like we never sat in the office and talked about the offense as being a problem. I
They
wasn't
should be
even born
ashamed for
at
that.
night to say it was, but it wasn't last night. I was born in the middle of the day. So I think Houston is going to actively work on building their offensive line, whether it be free agency or the draft. But I can see Houston really swing for a playmaker. I think they are worried and nervous about a couple of things. The health of Nico Collins moving forward, being precautious. Please, guys, listen. Be precautious with Tank Dell. There's not a receiver on this roster outside of Higgins and Noah that I mean Higgins and Nico that I would say, yeah, you deserve a spot next year. Not a one. And I think that they realize that. I think Houston's going to swing for the fences somehow, some way.
I was reading something that had the Texans at 13-4, number 2 overall seed in the AFC next year. Here's what I'm going to say. If you would have asked me just like a prediction, defense is going to take a step back. Now, they may go from 2 to 10. I think it can still be a top 10 unit. Most certainly, they'll be a top half. But I think this quarterback, I choose to be, and it could just be, look, I'm a man of faith. I like that he's a man of faith, but it's bigger than that. I've seen the attributes. I was looking at some of his Ohio State tape today. I went back and looked at some of his 2023 tape today. It's in there. CJ Stroud, when he's in his bag, is special. No, he may not be Patrick Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen. He may not be that. But I read it and I read it again, guys, because some people didn't hear this when I rattled this off during the last show. CJ Stroud has more playoff wins than Dak Prescott and Trevor and Jordan Love and Tua and Justin Herbert doesn't have any. And then Brock Purdy, of course, he's in that Kyle Shanahan offense, surrounded at that time by weapons everywhere. So, of course, he's going to stack some dubs. CJ Stroud is fine. Now, them last 2 games, I think this offseason is going to fuel him to be as more locked in. That's why he skipped the Pro Bowl. I believe he was asked to be a part of the Pro Bowl, and he said, I don't want any part of it. He's going to dedicate his offseason to going to be the best version of himself. We won't have to be dealing with the sore shoulder during training camp and OTAs and all that.
No Amber
CJ
Rose.
Stroud, Amber Rose been gone. So we're gonna lock in, and I think the defense is going to regress some. Some people are asking me why. Because it's natural. It happens. It's not a matter of if you get hurt in this league, it's when. The Texans were very, very fortunate that nobody got banged up for a substantial amount of time. Derek Stingley Jr. fought through that oblique injury, and he dealt with that all year. I don't know that they're going to have that good fortune. Now, the interior, the tackle position, is where they felt it the most. All those guys went on IR.
Shout out to Nick Caserio for being proactive and making sure they got bodies. To Naquan Jones. Togiai being who he was. I forget it's Fahaki.
Oh, yeah. Danico Autry. I got a question for y'all. Is CJ closer to Dak or Alex Smith? Performance or play style? Like the actual added all up production?
Production. And
I think he's
keep in
probably
mind,
closer to Alex Smith, honestly.
I think Dak Prescott is a damn good quarterback.
He is.
He is.
Is he ever going to get up top? Question.
Dak Prescott is a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Next Matthew Stafford, like where he just got to get out of Dallas.
You got to get out of Dallas.
Something could pop off, right? Maybe that's Minnesota. They make a trade to send JJ down in Dallas. I'm not sure, but I think Alex Smith was good. But I think we know the difference between Alex Smith and Dak Prescott. Similar class, but Dak is a little bit higher ranking in y'all opinion. Where do y'all see CJ falling in between? Or Jared Goff in that mix?
I mean, that was one of Colin.
Better.
I think CJ is more physically gifted, and I don't mean athletic. I mean, I think CJ does more things with the football in terms of, again, ball placement, a little bit more arm strength. I think he throws a better ball. Not that Jared Goff throws a bad ball. I think CJ is more talented with the football. I think Goff has been fortunate enough that once he got aligned with the right coaching staff, and he's been a part of two damn good coaching staffs in LA and Detroit. Went to Super Bowl with one, and Detroit played in a lot of playoff games. Jared Goff is a fine. Now, Jared Goff isn't going to drag you to a Super Bowl.
Josh Allen can. That question.
Josh Allen can. Lamar can. Like, those are the guys that physically we've seen Patrick Mahomes do it. There are just very few guys that are Joe Burrow. You know what I mean? Like those. Jalen Hurts is, he's just athletically different. CJ's not going to drag them. But if you give him enough ingredients to cook with, and he hasn't had that, not consistently here. He just hasn't. At the skill position and at the offensive line, he has not consistently had enough to cook. And add the coaching to that. All these other people, Joe Burrow has Zach Taylor and Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford. They got, like those guys. I'm talking about play callers. Andy Reid, what's my man, McVay, Kyle Shanahan. When are we going to give CJ a play caller that's commensurate? Hell, even Kevin Stefanski. When are we going to give CJ Stroud? I know he's the head coach in Atlanta. I'm talking about somebody of that ilk. When are we going to give CJ Stroud an actual professional play caller with experience doing the job, and then give him some ingredients and see what happens? We haven't seen it.
Well, what's happening is, Bobby Sloak is just getting some more seasoning over there in Miami, and then he'll be available.
Hey, shout out to Bobby.
You can bring him back.
Bobby got an OC job.
Yeah.
Bob, you know what? Hey, do y'all think at any point this season, in the playoffs, those two playoff games, do y'all think Bobby was sitting back like, but y'all said it was me. Y'all blame me. It doesn't look.
I don't even know Bobby, but there's no way you're not looking at that and saying that. There's no way you're not.
Speaking of offensive coordinator, I'm very concerned about Robert Saleh getting the job in Tennessee and hiring Brian Daboll to come run his offense.
We don't have the time today. Way more freaked out about this than I am. I don't know.
I'm concerned about that. Have you seen their cap space?
I don't.
Have you seen the Titans cap space?
Have you seen the Tennessee Titans history of what they always do? They suck. I'm not scared of them at all.
Listen,
bring it on.
I saw them play in the AFC Championship game.
Fourth best team in the division.
I saw the Tennessee.
Not better than the Texans. Not better than the Jags.
I saw the Tennessee Titans play in an AFC Championship game.
Yeah,
I saw that recently.
I saw Brian Daboll help Josh Allen get to where he is. At that time, the best version of Daniel Jones. Also, what he did this season before he got
Jackson
Dart in New York for Jackson Dart.
For sure.
So now I'm thinking to myself, they got over $100 million in salary cap, so we can just scratch off Breece Hall, right? I think Texas fans need to let that dream go. Houston should have traded for him at the trade deadline. Remember that conversation, Stan? They didn't do it.
Sure.
And it hurt him in the long run. So they're going to give some playmakers around Cam Ward, and I think this may be the AFC South. We have to talk about this. The AFC South, with what the Jacksonville Jaguars were able to do this year, winning the division, Texans where they are right now, and the potential of what Saleh and Daboll. Because remember, didn't Saleh beat the Texans already with the New York Jets?
Yeah, beat them twice.
Oh, yeah.
Twice.
The Jets beat them twice.
Hey, man, it's going to get tough out here.
Joe
Lombardi was let go by the Denver Broncos. I think that's a name that Houston needs to realistically look at and say, let's bring him into a senior assistant role or something.
Quarterbacks coach, something.
Yeah.
Oh, I did hear that while we on coaches. I saw something. Jonathan M. Alexander of the Houston Chronicle had this. He says, be on the lookout. Perhaps Gerard Johnson, Ben McDaniels, or Jake Moreland from the offensive staff of the Texans to be let go potentially. So we'll see what happens.
On the Locked On Texans podcast. Not three players, three coaches. Any development between those coaches from a player perspective?
I know Gerard Johnson just interviewed with somebody for an OC job.
Really? They can't find nobody. Yep. Stanley, you may need to go ahead and hit Indeed sponsored jobs. And Cleveland can't get a head coach. Nobody wants that job.
Hey, you know who's available for them? David Culley, Lovie Smith.
Color,
of those
keep
guys.
counting your checks, man. Keep counting your checks, bro. Don't worry about that.
Another check. You guys want to give your final parting shots here before we say goodbye real quick?
It could all be so simple for the Houston Texans. Improve the interior offensive line. That has to be the number one priority. And then after that, add playmakers. Get guys in the building that fit the philosophy. Not Laken Tomlinson, not Cam Robinson, not the and he played well, but not a Nick Chubb. Get guys that are able to do what is needed to be done. Then that is how you reset your quarterback and swing for the fences. Go get a playmaker at wide receiver.
To buffer your point,
Addison, by the way.
To buffer your point, I like Addison too. He's got some legal stuff he's got to work through. I don't know if he fits their profile of types of guys, but we'll see what happens there.
Jimmy Ward on the roster all year.
Yeah, but that's D'Amico's boy. It's a little different. All right, John, I want to buffer your point, and this doesn't get talked about. We'll have to do this maybe on Friday. According to Next Gen Stats, the Texans' offensive line group was much better this year, cutting CJ Stroud sacks from 63 times, second most last year, to 31 sacks in the regular season this year. However, they gave up 6 sacks and 36 pressures in the postseason. In 2 games, they gave up 6 sacks and 36 pressures, the most of any team so far, according to Next Gen Stats. That offensive line has to be better. For me, real quick, defense side of the ball. How about Pro Bowl alternates? Let's go Hawk and Lock. Congratulations to Kalen Bullock. Congratulations to Kamari Lassiter. Hawk and Lock going to the Pro Bowl games as they were the first alternates at their position. Christian Gonzalez is playing in the Super Bowl, so Kamari Lassiter goes. And then Jalen Ramsey, I think, is having a procedure, so Kalen Bullock goes. But congratulations. That's much different than that Shedeur Sanders madness. That's absurd. I might do a solo podcast just to go off on Shedeur Sanders getting a Pro Bowl. Why would you accept that if you were him? Why would you accept that?
Money.
Oh, my God.
And that's another way for him to put tape out there. Good or bad?
Tape of him swinging a golf club at the Pro Bowl games.
Just looking at the pros.
Why would you put that target on your back? So now we got to talk about a lack. It's just congratulations, Hawk and Lock.
Congratulations to them. They are worthy of it. Now just go to the Pro Bowl and don't do anything that's going to, risk injury. That's all I got to ask. A lot like
we don't need it. Go ahead.
I was saying a lot like the Astros just did to Carlos Correa and Jose Altuve, telling them to not play in the World
Shut them down.
Shut them down. I'm saying, don't go and do anything. Just stand there. Bubble wrap.
Stay away from Joe. Stay away from Joe Mixon. We don't need any mysterious injuries.
No, we don't need mysterious.
Y'all have seen the reports. Y'all know the rumors I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What, shot himself?
I'm staying away from it on purpose.
What is it now?
I don't know. I'm just saying. If some people
is he actually Santa Claus and he fell off the roof and Tim Allen is taking over his job? Is that what happened?
Nick Caserio said there was nothing. What did he say? There was no extra activity. There was nothing unusual about Joe Mixon's activity. He wasn't. What did he say? Snowboarding or something?
He wasn't snowboarding, and I thought that word. My mind when he said snowboarding, I was like, okay, what kind of party was going on, man? I know we got to wrap up the show, fellas. I'm taking it to another place.
Yeah, we could do a whole segment on conspiracy theories. We actually probably should. We got a long off season on what we think was Joe Mixon's actual injury. Maybe we'll save that for a summer day when it's a little bit quiet.
Man, it was halfway through the season. They said they hadn't seen Joe. I'm like, you're the general manager. You haven't seen.
God.
Hey man, y'all go ahead, dog.
Oh man. Well, we appreciate all of you stopping by and enjoying our silliness at the end of the show. Between now and then, don't snowboard and break your foot like Joe Mixon did, or snowmobile, or whatever the hell he was doing. We'll be back Friday for the Locked On Texans Squad show. We'll see you.